If you are a contractor and you've got subcontractors working for you, then I'm afraid it's a little bit more complex. There's a little bit more paperwork and bits to do every month. So let's start off with setting up a subcontractor, that's working for you. So you come in here, all contacts, and let's add a new contact. So it's going to be a person. So I'm just going to use a dummy one. Oops. And I'll probably spell his surname wrong, but never mind. I'm just going to use the standard email as well. You can pop in business information and everything, but it's not 100% necessary. Again, I would put in the address for these definitely, because okay, it's not deciding it doesn't like that. Let's find something in London. Oh, that sounds nice. They can work there. We can live there. Right, so CIS deductions, yes. So what will happen now is all their CIS details will come in. So it'll pre-populate their thing, and you would like to think you're charging, deducting the 20%, but until it's been verified, you won't know for sure. Actually, let's take that out. Oh, it's not going to let me now. So they are a sole trader, sorry. So you need to put in their UTR. And you need to put in their national insurance number. And then you can fill out the rest of the details if you want. Because they are subcontractor, you can put them down as CIS labour, because they're always going to be that. Their bills are due 7 days up to the bill date, and the rest you can keep. They're probably not that registered, so let's put that. What you would do now is you would save the contacts and verify the CIS details. Now, this isn't going to work because it's a demo company, but it'll pop you up and it'll ask you to verify, and it'll ask you to go through to the government gateway, and it will connect and it'll do everything. Obviously this isn't going to do it, so I'm just going to ignore that. This is an extra to your subscription, so you will need to add it to the subscription as well. I believe it's £5 a month at the moment. So let's return to contact, but you would verify them and it will come back and confirm the CIS rate, which you hope will be the standard 20%, but it could come back at 30, and it will give you the verification number, which you can then pop in here, and then we'll save and close it. So that's them, and we're just going to pretend now that they're verified. And it's all okay, it's all working. Next thing we want to do is we want to add a bill from them, so I'm just going to add it here. So they've sent you a bill. So labour. So you've got 175, and that will come up as labour expense, and then they may have also given you some materials. So say £45, and then we'd change that one to be the materials. So what this is doing is it's making sure the deduction is on the labour expense only, not on the materials, but it will push everything through onto the CIS return to HMRC. And what you can see here is it's automatically worked out the CIS for you, the deduction, so it tells you what you are actually needing to pay that person, not the full amount that's their invoice. So you'd mark that approved. Just for this, I'm going to show that we've paid it so that it will run the rest of the reports. Today's date. So you do that, you'd match it all up, you'd pay them the amount due and everything. And that CIS, so you know before on the contractors, it went on CIS asset. This will use up that last code and it will go on to CIS liability. So if you look at the balance sheet, You may not actually split it out, so I don't think it splits out the liabilities. And let's just double check. Oh, no, it does. Creditors there. CIS liability, so it's there. So that is what you owe HMRC for that subcontractor. So you'd go through the month, get everything done, and then when it comes to the end of the month, you then need to do the CIS returns. So if we go into reports, and I'm just going to find CIS ones. So your CIS monthly return. So what this will do is it will show you throughout the month who you've got, subcontractors, what their payments have been, what their payments are excluding VAT, excluding cost of materials and the liability deduction and the amount withheld. I would keep a copy of that. So you've got it all every month. You then would need to go and do your contractor return. So I'm not sure if this is going to work. Let's pray that it does. It does. Cool. So it says your current period. So you'd come into here and you can see the transactions by thingy, or you can just look at the monthly return as a whole, and it will list all of your subcontractors. From here, you can download their statements that you send to them. And you can also submit it to HMRC. So normally it would have the button, once you've got the contractor section added, it will have a button for you to send that over to HMRC. Because this is the demo and we haven't got it enabled, it won't let us do that. So you download the statement and send it to the subcontractor, and then you'd submit it to HMRC. But it's got all the information there. You can see when it's due and the period it covers and everything, and the CIS amount. You can also look at these if you want to. So yeah, you'd mark that as submitted. Again, it's a little bit early as well, but if you would do it after the 5th of the month, and we're on the 2nd of the month as I'm recording this. But you get the idea of how it works. So that now is marked as submitted. And as you can see here, it will then update this to say submitted. But because it is still the current period, it's not going to do it. But it would normally say submitted. So that's what you need to do for if you're a subcontractor. Now, it gets a little bit more complicated when you're both, because you need to pay your subcontractor bits over to HMRC, but also HMRC owe you for the CIS that was withheld as a contractor. So what we'd normally do is keep a spreadsheet, and you'd only, so say your liability was more than your sales, then you'd pay over the difference. But your sales generally should be more than what your subcontractor amount is. So you should always be in credit with HMRC. Now, if you've got staff, then it will all get put onto the P32 report. So if we go here, so you'll want to download the P32. And what it will do on here is it will take into account the CIS. So the CIS is on the second page. And what you can see here is he's actually deducted the CIS here as a deduction to show that the amount due is there. What it's not done though, it's not added in the CIS due from your subcontractors, but that's fine. So if you have other staff where you've got this, it will include the CIS suffered. So the payment due to HMRC will be less the CIS suffered. And then you also need to make a separate payment for the CIS liability for your subcontractors as well. One thing to know is when you do make that payment, So if you're paying for your subcontractors because you've got that amount, when the money comes out of the bank, so let's just pretend one of these is the money to the subcontractors, to HMRC for the subcontractors. So let's just pretend this is to HMRC and to the CIS deducted. You would put HMRC and then CIS liability because you're paying the liability to them, and that'll be CIS D, and then you can put the month number in, month 1, whatever it is, and you'd put okay. And then what that'll do is that where it's in that pot that I showed you earlier, £35, it will then go against that, so you're paying it off. So I hope that all makes sense. If you've got any questions on that, because it is quite complicated, then I'd recommend speaking to your bookkeeper or accountant to run through it for your specific circumstances, because it is quite complex. And all of our construction workers, even if they're doing the bookkeeping, we look after all the CIS returns because it does get quite complex, especially when you're a contractor and a subcontractor and you've got payroll going on as well. It's all a bit much. But yeah, if you feel comfortable doing it, then great. But if you looking at this and thinking that that's a little bit too much for me, you can ask a bookkeeper or accountant to run just the CIS returns for you every month. There are accountants and that out there that will do that for you, either as part of the year-end package or on its own separately. A lot of payroll bureaus do it as well, so maybe speak to a payroll bureau if you only need that section doing for you. But that is CIS.